Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So today I've pulled out an old Planners Anonymous kit to have a bit of a play with. I'm really excited by the stamps at the moment. They're really sort of getting my juices going. And this was something that really kind of jumped at me when I was playing with this old kit. So if you want to see how I made this really cute little cupcake card, then just keep watching. Okay, so this card kind of idea was inspired by Nicola, who on my Main Street unboxing mentioned that she remembered seeing a birthday sentiment in the Baked with Love stamp kit, which she's right, and I kind of forgot about it. So I've been playing with this stamp set a little bit over the last couple of days, and what I wanted to do, well, I kind of ended up making like a cupcake inspired kind of card. So what I thought I'd do is I'd recreate it for you guys, and I've kind of used as many of the stamps as I possibly can. So it isn't actually a birthday card, but you could alter it to be a birthday card. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to make a couple of masks, and we need to make them because we're going to use them when we make our cupcake. So we need to make a mask using this top swirly cupcake, and these are all a little bit unsticky at the moment because, like I said, I have been playing with them. So I'm going to grab, this swirly one, and I'm going to grab a stamp block. And I'm just going to grab any kind of ink pad. Any kind of ink pad at the moment, because this is just a mask. It's not going to last very long. Doesn't need to last very long, really. So just onto any kind of paper. Scrap paper is fine, but if you've got note paper or whatever else, that's fine too. And then just make sure you are wiping off your stamps after every use, especially if you're using black. These stamps, in my experience, do have a tendency to take on the ink a little bit, and they kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Stain. That's the word I'm looking for. They do stain a little bit, but they still work absolutely perfectly, so it doesn't hurt them at all. So then we want to cut out this mask. So we want to cut it as close to, or actually probably just easier to say cut on the line. We have our little mask. We are also going to need some washi tape of some description, which is just going to hold this down. Okay, so that's the first part that you need to do done. Sounds really simple, right? This whole thing is actually very simple. It's just got lots of steps to it. So the next thing we need to do is grab a piece of cardstock. So I'm going to use this white, I'm going to use the grey. I'm going to use this grey. This is out of a Kmart stack. I think it cost me like, oh, come on. $3 or $4. It wasn't very expensive, but you do get 40 pieces of cardboard in here, and it's nice stuff. It's not textured, which is what I'm very excited about, is the fact that it's not textured. Not that there's anything wrong with textured ones, but just sometimes they don't stamp as nicely. And then what I'm going to do is grab this extra big kind of border one. Now, the downside for me using this is I don't actually have a stamp block that's big enough, so I'm grabbing this little drawer. This is actually out of one of my Daiso drawer kits, but the acrylic does the same job as the acrylic block. Obviously it sticks to it fine, and it still gives me the pressure that I need, but it just means I don't have to worry about trying to put it over two stamp blocks, which is good. And then you need to stamp out this shape. So I'm going to use black. You could use grey, and I'm going to use a lot of grey and silver coming up. This is basically the only bit of black I'm going to use for the whole rest of this card. So I'm just putting that all over here, and I'm just being careful not to get it on the drawer itself, because I do have a tendency when I'm pushing this down to accidentally get the ink all over the place. I'm also going to give my hands a bit of a wipe here, because I don't want to get this on the cardboard if I can avoid it. Okay, dog hair. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put this right down in the corner because we're going to cut this out. So I don't need it to be particularly placed, but I do want it to be sort of roughly in a spot where I can decorate with it. I'm giving that a good push down. Try not to wiggle it around too much, which I did there, but that's okay. It's still a pretty good impression. The movement came from me, not from anywhere else. So it's giving that a bit of a wipe. I'm going to leave that on there. And then I'm going to grab in a mask that I've already made, but I'm going to show you guys how I made it. You can see I've actually played with this a little bit. So this is that exact same stamp, just on a bit of cardboard, and I've just cut out the inside. Now you're going to see why in a second, but I just didn't want to do that on camera again because it just took a little bit. It did take a while, but now that I've got it, I've obviously got it and I can use it over and over again, which you can see I have been doing. So I'm going to stick this down just with some washi tape. I'm just finding the rough sort of area of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I did wiggle that stamp around a little bit, so it's got a little bit of not cover on there, but that's alright. And we're going to grab our washi tape and just stick this mask down so that when we do the next step it doesn't wiggle around too much. You can do the sides if you want to, but you don't have to. I just find they don't wiggle quite as much when I have got the sides stuck down as well. Also, this is the first time I'm using this cardboard with washi tape. I've just realised that while I've been thinking about it. So I'm a little worried about when I pull that up, so I'm just hoping when I do it's okay. So I'm grabbing my Kaisercraft inks. These are the metallic, this one's the metallic one. I'm going to be using a bunch of these in a second. These are really, really cool, and this metallic silver in particular I actually really, really enjoyed. So I'm grabbing this little one. I'm going to pull this back in so you can see. So it's this little fireworking star style one. I'm going to ink that up with silver, and the idea here is we're just making a background out of this. So I'm just going to put it wherever I like, and then we're just going to work it up all through the background. So you can have them crossing over if you want. The mask is there so that it covers the edges, so you can go right up over them and sort of stamp on the edge if you want to, and it's just filling in the space. So that's all done. You can cover over the top of them if you want to. I try and keep them a bit separated. I just find it gives a nicer effect, but it's whichever one you prefer. Oh. And then we're going to put in, actually, I'm going to leave the rest for now. We're going to go ahead and make the stuff for the background. So this is kind of going to be a layer on top. So we're going to go ahead and start making the background. But I'm just taking that washi tape off really carefully so I don't damage the cardboard. And the cool thing is that mask is then there to be used somewhere else. You can see there, that's what it's done. It's kept that clean. I've got a little bit down the side there, but that's all right. I'm going to cut this out anyway. But it's kept that border clean, so it looks really cool. Okay, next bit we're going to need just a plain piece of white paper, which I do have sitting here. I thought it was out the other one. And we're going to make a bunch of cupcakes. So this is what we're going to end up with, which I've already kind of pre-made a couple. So we're going to end up with a bunch of these ones, and doing it's actually really, really simple. So what you want to do is grab your swirly bit first and grab all the inks you want to use. I've got blush, cotton candy, flamingo, amber, spearmint, blue haze, and grape and plum. These are all Kaisercraft ones. They're awesome. I love them. The more I play with them, the more I love them. And basically all we're going to do is ink these up and just do 3 in a row of each colour all along sort of here. So I'll show you with a couple and then I'll go super fast. And I'm not going to wipe this after each colour because the blend actually looks really cool. Most of the time you can't tell anyway because I'm getting most of the ink off with each stamp. You'll see now when I move to a different kind of colour family, we're going to move into the blue. So you just want to leave a little bit of a gap, and that's going to be for your patty pan. Okay. So just continue that all the way down the page with all your colours, and then when you get to the bottom I'll show you what to do next. Once you have finished all of the cream bits, swirly bits, whatever you want to call it, do give it a good rub, just because that way you're going to get off any of the excess ink that's left over. Honestly, I got very little off that because all the ink just came off. This is where we're going to get our little mask off, and you can do more than one of these if you want to. I feel that it's about as painful sort of moving it one by one as it is cutting out 3 or 4 of these, so it kind of comes down to whatever you want to do. So you're going to use some washi tape and a little mask to kind of mask this off. So I'll use this one down here. So you're just going to cover up as best you can. The mask isn't going to be perfect, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to grab this ink pad that's called Smoke. This is another Kaisercraft one. And we're going to get the little patty pan off here. Wipe my block down, make sure I've got off all the excess ink. And stick that down. And then we're just going to ink this one up. And you're going to place it just above the sort of line there, so if you guys can see that. And then when you pull it up, it looks like it's perfectly underneath, so it actually looks like the cream's coming down over the top of the patty pan. So we're going to repeat that for every single one. Like I said, it's completely up to you if you want to do all these masks one by one, cut them all out. I feel like it's not really worth it. The washi tape becomes really easy to push up after a while. The only downside to doing it this way is it does sort of flick up a little bit, so you kind of have to come at it from this angle, which is a little difficult, but not too bad. And you can have them as high up or as low as you like. You don't have to have them sort of all the way. I'll show you with another one. So you can have it, if you wanted to have them like really little patty pans, have a little one just like that, so it looks like the pan's a bit smaller, or you could have it even a little bit further down. I've got it about as far down as you can have it without there being a gap. So completely up to you, but I'm going to go ahead and do it sort of where I like it, and I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so they're all stamped. That just looks so super cute. I reckon you could do a whole, if you've got like a big A3 bit of paper, you could do a whole page and make it into wrapping paper because it's just cute. Okay, so from here we need to cut all of these out. I'm going to cut out a couple, but I'm not going to cut out all of them because I do have a big pile here already. Where are my scissors? But just to show you sort of, I want to say how to cut them out. Like, you guys are smart enough to know how to cut things out, but just sort of so you can see the process. So I'm just going to start with one of these ones at the bottom. I just like to cut them into individual little cupcakes so it's just easy to do. So I'm going to cut these out so that they've got just a very small white gap around the outside. That's just personal preference. You could cut it right on the ink if you wanted to. It's just whatever you want to do. So it's just right around the outside of it. After a while, this does actually become really easy. Once you sort of worked out what's the best way to do it, where to start, etc. And then we've got our cute little cupcake. So I'm going to cut out just a couple more really quick, just to put in my pile, and then I'm going to get started on the card. so once all of your, well, a big pile of your cupcakes are cut out, when I add in all these other ones that I've done, I now have Cupcake Overload. I'm definitely not going to need all of these. But once they're all cut out, then you can actually start sort of making the base of your card, and we can start getting these stuck on. So I'm going to jump back over here again. I'm just thinking actually I might use the same coloured cardboard because I'm going to cover it up anyway. So I'm going to use this same colour. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. Which hasn't actually been cutting all that straight lately. So I'm hoping that it's okay. So I'm just cutting off this bit that I will use later. And then we just need to work out how big we want the actual card to be before we get going. So I want this to sort of sit on the top, but I want it to be able to be all around the edge. So what I'm going to do is measure out how big this is. So that's 9.5 by, this piece of cardboard, sorry. So 9.5 by, we'll go 9.5 by 10.5, I reckon. So just measure out the 9.5 first. Go. And then 10.5 is going to be 21. Okay. This is only 22.5, so I'm going to leave it that size, and then if I want to cut off any extra later, I can. So I'm just going to find close to the center point. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly. Just got Ryan to do some maths there for me because I couldn't work it out. And I'm just going to score that line. If it's not perfectly straight, that's okay, because we can add we can cut off the excess at the bottom if we need to. Just scoring that, and then just going to rub out those pencil lines. This is something I learnt watching a card tutorial the other week. I always thought you folded that inwards. Apparently you fold it outwards, and that gives you a crisper edge. I didn't know that. I learnt something new. So I'm just going to put those two together. Go. And then make that edge nice. There we go. And that. Yeah, so I can make that thinner or thicker if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out now, because that's sort of the next bit we need to make sure the size is right. So this one I am cutting on the ink because I want it to be a bit more of a bold edge. That's all cut out. I actually think I will leave that slightly bigger. Leave it slightly bigger, and then it kind of looks a little cooler. So we're then going to stick the cupcakes down sort of in this interlocking, that's not the right word, this sort of pattern like this. So it doesn't really matter sort of what color combo you do it or in what order. Doesn't matter if you do 4 on the top or 5 on the top, whatever you want to do, just to make it look however you want to make it look. So you can go from the edge in, so you can have the one in the middle sort of on the top, or you can do it sort of one over the other, whichever you want to do. It's completely up to you. Then you can stick it down also any way you like. I think I'm going to use my sticker maker. I think I'm going to end up using too much, because there's a lot of stickers to go through there. So we might just do it just on with glue tape. I'm just going to grab that, and I'll just do the first couple or the first line and then go into speed mode so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to have these sitting just slightly over the top of the card, which probably should have thought about before I put that on there, so hold on. Thankfully I've got 55,000 of these, so it's not a problem. So I'm just going to leave on the top row, just leave no glue on the top little swirl. Tweezers are going to come in handy. And that way there's not going to be, these are going to sort of sit up over the top, and there's not going to be glue, or not too much glue anyway, hanging around there. So like I said, I'm going to do the first line and then I'll speed through. So just put the glue on. You can tuck these in as tight as you like. I think I like doing it sort of a little bit tighter and then all the way across so that I know they're going to fit. That sounds weird, but because you could put the blue at the top, but I think it looks better sort of all lined up like that. I'm hoping I'm making sense. There we go. So there's our first line. So I'm going to continue that down the page. I'm not going to worry if they come off the edge because that's just going to add to it. And I'm just going to make sure that I don't put a similar colour sort of too close to one of the other ones. Okay, so we've got all of the cupcakes stuck down. So like I said, that's going to be slightly around the card. I haven't decided yet if I want to cut them off or if I want to leave them where they are. I don't know. I have not yet decided. Ryan, what do you think? Leave them where they are, says Ryan. So what we need to do then is get rid of a little bit of the glue that's on the back. So that's really easy to do. You just got to be a little bit careful because obviously it's paper and you don't want to pull them off. So I'm just grabbing an eraser and just gently rubbing on the back here. That'll pick up the glue dots that I just used and we'll wipe them away. And that's what you want to avoid doing, what I just did. So what I might do, I'm going to cut off at the bottom only and then leave them around the top. Because I have messed it up and I can't pull it up. So we'll see what this looks like. Yeah, that still looks cool. There is still a little bit of a tear, you can still see it, but I hope no one will be looking quite that close. I'm just going to rub the glue off, and I'm going to be a bit more careful this time. I think I was going the wrong way. I was trying to rub sideways when I should have been rubbing sort of this way, not that way. So you know when it's done, when you can't feel the tack on it anymore. And that feels good to me. So then we're going to put this sitting in the middle. I'm going to put mine on some foam tape just because I think the effect will be really cool. But before I do that, I want to put my sentiment on here, and I want to put one of the cupcakes as a bit of a centerpiece. So there is a cute little plate style little stamp in here. So I'm going to grab that on the grey. Get the grey stamp back in. So it's called Smoke. I've got to call it by its proper name. Now you can mask this off, but because the cupcake we're going to put on here anyway is going to cover the back line, you don't have to. So I'm just placing that right at the bottom. So you got a little stand. Giving that a wipe. And then we can pick whichever cupcake colour we want. I'm going to go with this purple one. No, I'm not. I'm going to use this yellow teal one. Yellow, teal, who knows. So this is again personal preference. I'm going to put it just with glue tape because it's paper, not cardboard. I could mount this on a piece of cardboard, cut it out again, and then put it on here, and then it would be sort of strong enough to put this on foam tape as well, so it would have like an extra dimension, but I don't think I need it. This is the choice that you have with this kit. You can then do either a happy birthday card or a sprinkle happiness everywhere card. I just want this to be a bit more of a generic card, so I'm going to go with the sprinkle happiness everywhere. And I'm going to grab this stamp pad. This one's called Peacock. I haven't used this in any of the other cupcakes or anything, so it's going to be a sort of a special bit all by itself. Hammer ink on there. It's also going to match the teal of the cupcake that we've just done. So I'm going to put that in the middle and then just wipe that off. And then one of the other ones in here, we've got a little thing of stars and a little thing of hearts. I'm going to get the stars, and then I'm going to grab, I think I'll grab the plum one. I just want some purple. So I'm just going to add some stars just randomly sort of around the place here, just to add a little bit of extra something. You've already got the cool sort of silver effect of the ink behind all of this, so you don't need too much, but just a couple of extra stars just seem to add just a bit of zhuzh. So I'm just going to grab my foam tape. This is Express-It tape from Officeworks. I'm just going to cut out 2 strips, whoops, 2 strips about the same length that are obviously no longer than my little cutout here. You could do this with one piece if you wanted, but I have the extra, so why not? And pull off the excess, not the excess, the protective backing. And then what you want to do here is you want to look for the actual center of the card as opposed to the center of, like, you want it to sit in the middle of all the cupcakes. And because I've kind of gone over this way a little bit, this will be slightly off center. Okay. Now is our cute little cupcake card. Oh, that is so adorable. I really like that. I think that looks really cool. I'm annoyed that I've done it off center. That's the only thing I'll say. I am going to add one teensy wincy little thing on here, and that is in this stamp kit there's also this little handmade by little stamp. So I'm going to grab that, and then on the back in the middle, just in grey, I'm just going to stamp that. So it just says homemade by. I'm going to grab my grey pen and I'm just going to write Ash. And there we have a very, very sweet little card that could be used for a birthday. You could easily put the happy birthday sentiment there instead, or you could do it for just a thank you for being a good friend card, just a general anything card. The cupcakes are very birthday-y, but they don't have to be. They can just be a happy kind of way, which that sentiment there, sprinkle happiness everywhere, does suit this really, really well. So that is it for today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Let me know if you'd like to see more cards, and especially more cards from older Planners Anonymous kits. I have got a bunch of them in there. I've got all of them in there. So I'd really love an excuse to be able to go back and have a look through them. So if there's a kit in particular that you want to see the stamp kit used for, let me know down below and I'll have a bit of a play with it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and be subscribed to my channel. You're in for a bit of a treat this week if you're a Planners Anonymous fan, because my Blossom kit should drop sometime this week, I really, really hope. So that unboxing will be coming up. I also have my live video coming up this week at 8 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I think that's right still. So if you want to come and join me then, that would be fantastic. I hope you guys have the best week, and I will see you again really, really soon. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!